Welcome to Toxic Shifts Podcast, where my goal is to help you tap in and reveal the better self within. So, get settled and welcome to something like group therapy. Good evening, and thank you so much for deciding to drop in and share your energy with me. I'm your host, Tiffany R. Today's topic, balancing life financially after leaving a toxic relationship. So I've shared many truths on this podcast in the past mentioning my financial struggles, but did not go into great detail. So today I wanted to go into a bit more detail regarding some of the financial struggles that I faced after leaving a financially abusive relationship. Now, financial abuse is known as the silent weapon. It's used in toxic relationships to financially control their partner's access to economic resources. Now, upon escaping, I was able to save a little over $5,000 through stock investments that I had set aside before meeting my ex. And with those investments, I put everything into making a condemned property that I owned as much of a home as I possibly could. During this time, my ex cut all financial assistance, including helping with our son. So it was a blessing that I did not have to pay rent. To help maintain food and electricity, I applied for state assistance, and although I was receiving assistance, it was simply not enough to make ends meet. Because we were living in a condemned building, winters were brutal, physically and financially, and summers were no better. In Memphis, Tennessee, we have one bill that includes water, light, and gas, so if you are unable to pay, everything is cut off, and my bills easily reach well over $1,000 for an 800 square foot house. Let me just say, if it wasn't for public assistance, it would have been an ugly situation. And I thought because I had a child whose meds needed refrigeration that they would offer some kind of special program. Nope. They didn't. But it was much easier to obtain food only after we were approved for assistance. Prior to that, it was Dollar Tree and church lines. Since I had no car, which also saved on car notes, insurance, and gas, I would take the bus to the grocery store. I would drag along my carry-on suitcase and get everything we needed for the month. When my fridge was filled, lights were on, and I packed all the holes good enough to keep the air and the critters out, everything felt like it would be okay, until my narcissistic ex did something to remind me that it would be a long road ahead before things would be okay. And a long road it was. Over the 2 years that we were at that location before selling, I had eventually put money in for new heating systems, some plumbing work, and major tree trimming. Now, as far as extracurricular activities to keep things as normal as possible for the children, I located all of the free events and took advantage of the great free outdoors. But it was very, very obvious that things were tight. It certainly helped that I not only had resilient children that stood up and helped when the time came, but they didn't complain not one bit. I definitely wouldn't have been able to get through all of that without them. So after 2 years and finally receiving child support, things became much easier to bear. And my ex noticed that, so he started holding back payments. But by this time, I had learned enough to prepare for that, so I made sure not to overspend and save every dime that I had received. Let me say this, living on an extremely tight budget may not be ideal, but it's definitely better than having nothing to budget at all. Now, I'm very aware that everyone's situation differs, and not everyone has somewhere to go upon leaving. Let me make this abundantly clear. Had I not had that property, we would have been in a shelter, receiving the help and direction that's needed, just as I was in that church line, waiting for food. If you relate to the truth that I've shared here today, join me over on YouTube this Saturday for bonus Saturday episode, Preparation for Leaving a Toxic Relationship, where I will provide tips on creating a secret savings, balancing funds after leaving, and staying safe in the midst of doing so. Well, folks, that is all of our time. I am grateful to all that tuned in this evening. I do pray that you were able to find an answer or even a glimmer of hope. Until next time, make it a great day. The choice is literally yours.